Hey everybody, welcome to Badge Banter, where we feature some awesome stories from our incredible partners about the importance of the photo ID as a foundation for an organization's overall security. I'm Lindsay Martin-Nez, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Tiffany Renz from HID. Welcome, Tiffany. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Lindsay, for having me.
So Tiffany and I have both been in the industry for a really long time, but we just met a couple of years ago. And now I feel like I run into her everywhere I go, which is really fun. But Tiffany, tell me a little bit about HID and your role there.
Sure. So I'm sure everybody's aware of HID cards, readers. They're everywhere. I actually work for the secure issuance business area. So that encompasses Fargo printers. So cards and badges are very near and dear to my heart.
Mine too. That's why I'm excited that you're here today. So, as you know, this series is really designed to focus on the importance of the physical ID badge to facilitate security. And I'm excited about your story today because it kind of highlights the importance of wearing photo IDs. So, why don't you go ahead and dive in and tell us about your story?
Sure. Yeah. And it was funny when you asked me if I had a story, I kind of had to go through the archives. And it actually doesn't have to do with my time at HID at all. I think back to when I worked in the channel and I was like a outside sales rep, feet on the street, pounding the pavement. My first territory was in downtown Philadelphia. And I remember going into a hospital, Center City, and I'm getting a tour in the hospital from the security director. And again, everybody's wearing badges. There's a guy that approaches us in scrubs and he's got no ID on. He's just, fully in scrubs. So he goes up and questions him and he ends up getting escorted out. And later on, I follow up my next meeting. I'm like, whatever happened to the guy? And it's like, oh, well, they actually had him on camera going into some of the ORs trying to steal equipment. So it was kind of, it was one of my first calls ever as an outside sales rep. And that happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, like badges are actually super important. So, since then, there's probably been a number of stories, but that was one because it was like, I don't want to date myself, but I was, young and and I was like, yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That stuff actually happens. So yeah, that's kind of what came to mind. Just again, showcasing the importance of having the physical ID, especially in something like a healthcare setting or K through 12 type setting.
Yeah, and you think about both of those examples that you gave. I mean, healthcare, K through 12, those are places where you've got people that work there and then visitors and like people coming and going. And so
Yep.
you need some type of way to say, hey, this person belongs or doesn't, because you've got a lot of traffic and foot traffic that isn't normal or regular.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
This reminds me, we had a similar incident. It wasn't a hospital and I wasn't on a sales call or anything like that, but one of our customers actually, or in January of this year, the local news published a story where there was an adult male posing as a high school student, and they got on the bus and pretended they were a new student. This was their first day. And so they got to the school. And when they walked in the front door, luckily that school district has a policy in place where all their students wear visual IDs at all times. And so immediately, as soon as he walked through the front entrance, staff from the school stopped him and pulled him aside. And they were like, hey, where's your ID? And he was like fumbling through the answers very suspiciously, like I imagine the person in scrubs was at the hospital. And they were like, this doesn't feel right. And he couldn't really give a good answer. And so anyway, he ended up being escorted out and ultimately arrested for trespassing. And
Wow.
it could have been a very big security risk that was mitigated very quickly by something as easy as you're not wearing a photo ID.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's so many cases where, it might be the mobile piece that, I'm sure everybody's hearing about as well as a nice compliment, but I feel like there's also more times than not that you're absolutely going to need that physical photo ID, whether it has technology or not, just the actual physical badge is going to be needed.
Totally. Couldn't agree with you more. I'm passionate about that. So, well, Tiffany, thank you so much for being with me today. It was so great chatting with you.
Yes, good to see you, Lindsay. Thanks so much.
All right. And join us next time as we take you beyond the badge.